Welcome to the pilot episode of the Jurassic Hour Podcast, a whole new podcast focused on the Jurassic franchise. I'm your host Swerve, and today we have something a little different for you all. I've been sitting on the fence of creating this podcast for well over a year now, and finally we're testing it out today, as I think it's a perfect opportunity to test the waters and find out if something like this will work on the channel. It's slightly different to our usual content, but on the Jurassic Hour podcast, you'll have at least a whole hour of myself and other creators and fans chatting about the Jurassic franchise. For today's pilot episode, we have Alastair from Dangerville on as we discuss our first queries and ideas about Jurassic World Rebirth's first trailer. So get ready for a couple hours of Jurassic talk. Once again, I'm excited to see the reception on this podcast-styled series and to see if we can make this a thing going forward. But without any further waiting, let's get into Alastair and I's first ideas about Jurassic World Rebirth.
As ready as I'll ever be.
Good on you, good on you. So, Alastair, Dangerville, Mr. Dangerville, how would you prefer to be called?
Mr. Ville.
Mr. Ville, gotcha, Mr. Ville. So, there's something big happened last week that I think we need to talk about, and it's quite important. So, let's discuss that Rebirth trailer, huh? It's...
Yeah, okay, we could do that, I reckon we could do that.
Yeah.
What was your first reaction? Because I watched the reaction of your video, and I thought it was a good reaction. But I think it became kind of like clear that not everything is really what you wanted it to be.
Yeah, well,
what was like the first thoughts running through your head? I want to know what you were thinking.
That's the thing, because like I wasn't really thinking. It's so weird because like the first ever Jurassic trailer I actually reacted to was Dominions, or the first one or the second. I can't remember. But no, it was the first one. It's the first one I reacted to because I remember in Fallen Kingdoms I was in sixth form, so I was kind of just like chilling with my friends, so I didn't really care about it. But Dominions was completely different. I was actually ready for it. I knew it was happening, and I think it's safe to say that both trailers were phenomenal, right? You'd agree?
What, for Fallen Kingdom and Dominion, or
just Dominion, the trailer alone.
Yeah, and well, I think that has like ridiculous views on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
People clearly like the trailer. It obviously, locust plot aside, whether or not you like it, you know, it didn't really show any of that in the trailer. So I think a lot of people were invested because it was like, here's all the dinosaurs and here's all your characters that you really like from the originals. They're back, and there's just so much there you can get excited about.
It was a lot going on, but I remember reacting to it and I absolutely loved it. I was blown away. Like the action, the fire, the music, everything was so like there. I mean, you know, in comparison, as much as I do love Dominion, in comparison, it did not live up to the hype of the trailer whatsoever. I think that's safe to say as well.
Was that just like ridiculously high expectations?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I watched the trailer for it, I liked some of it, but something felt wrong with it, and I couldn't exactly put my finger on it. I think maybe it was just like the settings and some of the stuff we've heard leading up to it, but something just wasn't quite clicking to me. And then I saw it, and for a while I was like, you know, in a little bit of denial. I was like, no, it is actually quite good. I just need to watch it 5 more times. And annoyingly, the more I watched it, the more I kind of liked it less. To the point where now it's like when I watch it, it kind of have to take 2 sittings because it's such a long film and so much happens in it. So by the time you get to the Malta chase, I'm so overwhelmed, and I'm like, I just know there's half a film to go. So I'm going to take a break and go back to it and keep watching like tomorrow or something.
Well, it's like that's the thing. Like, I think merely based on the trailers, like Dominion, I think is the best of the franchise. Like, just trailers alone, it was phenomenal. That's why when you're asking me how I feel about Rebirth, I wasn't really thinking, because like it didn't hype me up as much as Dominion did. Because I remember watching it, and then the first bit where it's like Dr. Henry Loomis, this is Zora Bennett. I was like, oh shit, those names actually are in a trailer now. Like, we can hear them properly. They're not just letters on the screen.
It's suddenly an actual thing.
But then after that, I don't know. I didn't feel much from the trailer. Like I did. Like, I think that's quite obvious from my reaction alone. But I don't think I really felt it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
weird.
Obviously, I think even before the trailer, you were kind of disinterested with them going away from them being a global thing and going
Yes.
back to an island. I think that's just like obviously some people like the fact it's going back to an island, and some people don't like it. It's kind of like a matter of opinion. I'm like, as long as it doesn't mean they shut off all other, possibilities for them being in like cities and stuff.
That's
I think
the
there's
issue.
still stuff to explore there.
That was my worry when the thing came out, the plot, because I read about like these islands. They're visiting a new island. It's been 5 years after Dominion, and the world is now inhospitable for them. And I'm thinking, how's all of that happen in 5 years? Because in Dominion, we know that it's fine. They can live in it. Some creatures can regulate their thermotemperature, so they're completely fine no matter where they are in the planet. Some of them are endothermic, so they have to live in more of the colder climates. And I'm thinking, how are you going to try to explain that? In 5 years, all of a sudden, the world's ecology just collapses for dinosaurs? I don't get that.
It's like they suddenly just realised, bloody hell, it's hot in here.
Yeah,
it's cold. Actually, it's cold. Let's go somewhere. Let's go somewhere hotter.
Yeah,
they want to go. They want to go to the equator.
But that's the thing. Like that, I think that's probably why, like, going into the trailer, I was like very skeptical, because like it just didn't add up as much as I was hoping it would. Because there's opportunities in every single movie, and if you hate Dominion, if you love Dominion, one thing it did perfectly that I don't think anybody can argue is that it set up the future of the franchise so amazingly well. Like, there's so many possibilities of future stories and everything. And what do? You go to an island and you say that now we're going to completely undo everything that Dominion did. I'm thinking...
Well, it's the same thing with Fallen Kingdom. Imagine if instead of Dominion being kind of like this global thing, went, all right, Fallen Kingdom's over, and they're actually back on Nublar. You didn't expect that, did you?
Yeah.
They were like, no, I didn't expect it, because you set it up to be like that. But like, obviously, I don't necessarily mind it being an island, because I kind of like have missed it. We only got like a third of a film kind of being like that with Fallen Kingdom, and since then it's not really had it.
That's the thing.
2001 properly.
One thing I think Dominion could have done better with would be a two-parter, and the second part pretty much be in the Biosyn Valley, because then it's technically on the mainland, but you still get that island feel,
Well, that's what it was originally meant to be, wasn't it? A two-parter.
Well, I don't know about that. They definitely filmed like 6 hours of footage, and obviously you only got 2 hours and 47 minutes of it. So
I do. There's only so much I can, rat on that film without being like, okay, COVID did have a part to play in the way that film turned out. So I like, they did what they could, considering they had to start and stop filming probably like every 5 days. So I'm like, okay, they did what they could. The fact they got a film out and at all, is great. But I think probably the thing that I don't really like them even continuing now is that first shot of this Rebirth trailer is them deconstructing a museum exhibition on like dinosaurs. Are they still doing the people just don't care about dinosaurs anymore?
They did that in Jurassic World.
A world where dinosaurs aren't everywhere.
Yeah.
They've all relocated to places where not everyone lives. So surely people be like, okay, now I don't get to see them as much. I want to go to see them in exhibitions.
Yeah.
And from the looks of it, this looks like to be an exhibition specifically of Jurassic Park dinosaurs, because they're all like the Jurassic Park skeletons from the look of it, based on their size. And that may or may not be Rexy. It could very well be Rexy.
Please don't make it Rexy. That's such a big cop out.
I hope she doesn't, but she's be like 40 at this rate?
Yeah, well,
it makes sense for it to be Rexy. I don't want it to be Rexy, but like, who's not interested in this stuff? I'm interested when I go to the mammal like part of a museum.
But to contradict what you said, technically in 2015 they said that the public interest in dinosaurs has diminished already, and the park's been open for not even 10 years, and that's why they were creating hybrids. So
yeah, it's funny though, because their profits were higher than they'd ever been.
Yeah, a little bit contradictory there, but
a little bit contradictory. They just seem to they really want to emphasize that people aren't interested, and it's like you're kind of like seeping it into the like even just the audience watching these films' perspectives, because now they're like, oh, who cares about the dinosaurs anymore, man? And it's like, me, I care about the dinosaurs, and so should you.
Yeah. Well, even in Dominion, when they showed that with Alan Grant's like dig site and everything, there was just two, because we only talk extended edition, it's canonical, but in that edition specifically, there was two girls who said that's not a real dinosaur, this is a real dinosaur. So it kind of shows that like as people get older, they're growing up with actual dinosaurs. So what's the point in the fossils? You know.
Then you got Alan Grant being like, "Well, those aren't actual dinosaurs. These rocks are the actual dinosaurs."
But interesting. Then they go to Biosyn, who's actually created actual dinosaurs: the Giganotosaurus and the Quetzalcoatlus and the Iguanodon. They're all from the Cretaceous period. Morris and Trapidus as well. They're taken from the Cretaceous period into modern day. They look exactly the same. So like, that's it's an.
You think you'd be more amazed?
Yeah, because they are pure breeds. They are the only pure breeds that we actually know of. So that's what I'm saying with Dominion. They set up so much stuff like that. Like now that we know that companies can make pure breed specimens. How have they not gone down that route? Sure, the Giganotosaurus, technically it's not paleo accurate to our world, but in their world it's 100% accurate. There's only
I think that's.
Go on.
I think that's kind of just like this whole, the whole thing about Jurassic World, like I was saying, the people not being interested, is it's just David kept trying to solve a problem that no one really had a problem with, which is, well, if you have dinosaurs everywhere, they're not special anymore. So let's just kind of put them down to an area where people can't really see them.
But it's not about
and everyone's kind of like, okay, fair enough.
But that's the thing.
I think that's just him trying to solve a problem that isn't really there.
Exactly. I don't think they needed to touch up on that. Like, I don't think they needed to go to a new island. There's plenty of stories they can do on the mainland. And to be honest, one thing that I see from everybody who didn't like Dominion is the fact that they didn't get to see the dinosaurs on the mainland too much. And I think, personally for me, like I kind of saw how the story was going into Dominion. Like I knew it wasn't going to be focusing on the dinosaurs on the mainland. I knew it was going to be a new evolution of technology. It was going to be something to do with corporate greed, and there was no way Biosyn wasn't going to be involved. So I kind of saw that story that Dominion made from just before Fallen Kingdom even released. Like I started to realize, hold on a second, this is where it's going to go in Dominion. But I knew that the mainland sequence had to be there because of the ending of Fallen Kingdom. So there needed to be something on the mainland, and Chaos Theory is tackling that very, very well. Not the best that they could do, but that's what I think the whole point of Dominion not coming to a overall conclusion on that storyline is, so it can set up a lot more on the mainland. That's why Rebirth choosing to go to an island, a new island as well. What's this, like the fifth one of the franchise or something?
Something like that. But like, I'm all up for new mysteries. Like if they bring up something that enriches the lore and is interesting, I'm perfectly fine with it being an island. And based on kind of just like what the story's about, it may end up becoming like a global thing anyway. If it's all about like diseases and more stuff like that, it kind of just sounds like it would be a more developed version of Dominion's locust stuff. If they
that's what I'm thinking.
Introduce like a virus or the prion diseases or anything like that.
But that's kind of what I'm thinking, because they need to explain how these dinosaurs suddenly don't like to live where they were living. They were fine where they were, so they need to explain that. So I think that's kind of like how you tie in the locust plot in Dominion at the end of it, and then tie it into Rebirth, because you need to explain it somehow. Just say, sure, the new gene spice in the new locusts was able to eradicate the bad ones, blah blah blah. But in doing so, it then changed the climate or some bullshit. It's a different universe. You can make up some science or something like that.
They should, but
that's how.
Though.
No. Of course,
we all know they won't, unless like someone just has enough. That someone's probably just going to reiterate that they've all kind of moved down south, and that's the reason they're not outside your window. Although we might see. I know there was
said equatorial line.
There was that image behind the scenes of the hazmat guys in New York spraying something. So maybe there is like a dinosaur, or maybe they are all running from a disease. Like maybe the whole cure isn't for people or something like that.
Well, they say this. That's the thing. The article spoils a lot. I want to get into the article a little bit later, but it spoils pretty much the whole movie. But they do mention about like a heart disease of some kind, and that Frank Marshall said that, the executive producer. So it's not like them trying to change the words to hide something. He's straight up said it.
There goes my theory then.
There goes your theory. So it's like, but then again, there could be like another disease, and that's why I think I made a theory video a few months ago speculating that actually there is a disease that then causes this heart problem, and the whole reason why these dinosaurs have now migrated away from North America, South America, Europe, all of that place back onto the equatorial line is because they're actually being hunted and to be moved there instead. That would explain, like, if you don't want to go down the locust changing the climate plot, then you can go into them like being governmentally moved away, like they're being poached, they're being moved away, and they're being forced into this area where there's the population of the equatorial line is a lot smaller than I anticipated. Besides, like Nigeria, I think Nigeria falls under it, but a lot of the countries in that region, they're very sparse. They don't have like dense populations like most of the.
It's hot. Because no one with the right mind would live there.
Yeah.
But even if they don't explain it, let's just make that our headcanon.
That's a thing.
Let's just say they've been pushed by government agencies or something. I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of companies and government agencies in this film that we're going to be discovering probably for the first time. So, motivations will be a mystery, really.
That's why when it says like 5 years after Jurassic World Dominion, that's also very, very vague as well. I'm very worried about that because if they say 5 years after Dominion in the official plot, which is technically canon, that means it has to be 11 months out of the 12 of 2028. If they somewhere say that it's 2027, then that movie has to take place in December. Because in the new timeline with Chaos Theory involved in everything, Chaos Theory was confirmed to be taking place 2 months before Dominion. In the background of one of the images, you can see that it's September. You can even see the dates on screen claiming the first season is September. Then we speculated that season 2 was like 2 weeks later because of how long it takes for a boat to move from Louisiana to Senegal. So that means a couple months, 2 months, it's September, October, November, which means it should be in like November or December of 2022, Dominion.
Didn't they do this with Dominion where they've just shifted a bunch of dates around?
Well, no, in Dominion, it was quite obvious that it was late July, early August. Or at least the only movement that they did was that it was set in August, but there is some promotional marketing thing that's canonical that hasn't been released yet. It's kind of like promoting the fight with the Allosaurus and Carnotaurus, and that says July 30th. And that was supposed to be taking place after Dominion. So that was the only confusing part because it's supposed to be in August, it's supposed to be in July, but that's a very minute change. When it comes to Rebirth, if Dominion is in late November, early December, then 5 years after, you only have a month to play with in 2027. So if they say 2027, then we know that they've technically, in a way, retconned, changed the plot and the era.
Maybe they just mean like roughly 5 years, maybe could be 6 years.
Yeah.
Any time between 5, 6, 7 years.
Exactly. It would have been a safe bet.
They went, when do you want this to be set? Before or after Camp Cretaceous? Camp what?
Oh man, that would have been
We've already filmed the film. Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
Watch that before it.
Change it, digitally edit all of the dates in the background. Oh, great. But yeah, but that like kind of flows into like all of the other issues with the trailer because like I don't know how much I want to get into this.
I'll say first, I really like I like the film. Like in my reaction, I got like, I felt the feels for the first time watching a Jurassic film since like 2015. Watching that, or 2014, watching that first Jurassic World teaser, because that was like, for like since Jurassic Park 3, me being a very young, Padawan, I was like, oh, Jurassic Park 4 is going to come out this year, and then didn't. It's going to come out this year, and then never did. I remember telling all my parents, family members, being like, it's going to come out. I'm not crazy. And eventually it came out. So I was like mega hyped.
I had the same.
And everything past that kind of was just like, I was pretty hyped. Fallen Kingdom, pretty hyped, but it wasn't exactly what I would have personally wanted from a Jurassic film. But then this film has been, shown off, and it's got one of my favorite directors, David Koepp's coming back, and the cinematographer from Gladiator. So it's like everything's coming together to be like a really, really good film. And then the trailer came out, and visually, I think it's great.
Honestly, visually, best movie in the franchise already, without a doubt.
100%. Like everyone's got all like those films that Gareth Edwards done. They've got like Godzilla, and then Rogue One, Creator, and then this. It's just such a great, consistent, visual style, and it's gonna look great, and it's gonna feel like Jurassic for the first time. So I'm mega hyped. But after watching the trailer a billion times, which anyone will do, you kind of go, oh, it isn't like it's not a good trailer.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I think in terms of getting like butts in seats, it's probably doing the job, which is what they want. But I don't think it represents what the film's going to be. At least what I think it's going to be. If the film has the exact same tone as this trailer, I'll be quite shocked.
Yeah,
because based on everything that they've said, it doesn't sound like it would be anything like this.
But exactly,
just
I think they've changed the trailer.
Humorous and more action packed, and kind of like whatever about like the horror part, apart from like one or two shots. So
well, that's the thing. Like,
not a great trailer, but looks like a great film.
Every movie has to have a bit of humor. Like that's why, like, thinking of the humor, I'm not too sure. Maybe we just saw the bit too much than we were anticipating in this trailer alone. Like those could be like the only quips of the movie, you know. So it's like
I didn't even mind the quips. There's just so fucking many of them.
Yeah, there's like the 3 or 4 of them.
They have like more or less. I like that.
Yeah.
The whole like it's the size of an F-16 thing.
But I think that fits his character very well.
Yeah, the whole raptors, all that stuff's fine. The only line I don't really like is the none of what you said was good, and it's like, can you do that again? Can you just do it? Just say that again, but like less
I didn't
cheesy.
mind that. I thought that was quite. I thought the delivery on that was quite good.
If she said it, kind of the same way that Malcolm said, "Mommy's very angry," I think it would be
more of like a serious like.
Yeah, she kind of turns her head and says, "None of what you said was good." I think that would be a bit better, but like,
okay, I
kind
agree
of felt
with that. Yeah,
it felt a bit marvelly. I don't mind the line, just the way she said it's a bit weird. I like none of those things. Like, I don't really mind them, but why is there just so many in this 2.5 minute trailer? It makes me go, "Is this what the film's going to be?"
Yeah.
And I think everyone else that's like watched the trailer and has reacted has gone, "Okay, I don't." I didn't expect it to just be like Jurassic World. And it's like, no, guys, don't worry. It's not going to be just like Jurassic World. It's going to be more serious and more horror orientated. And I'm trying to convince everyone in like the comment section.
Yeah, because
whatever.
Well, that's the thing. The trailer does not represent what they've been speaking for the last, 6-7 months, where they've been saying, we're going horror. We're focusing on horror. This is a horror action survival kind of thing. And I'm like, great. Where? Like,
show us that, yeah.
The only horror that I would say would be when Duncan's in the water with the flare. And he's got the D-Rex behind him. That's the only horror, but given everything we've just watched, plus the music, it feels more like a fun action movie, And don't get me wrong, for me personally, I think Jurassic needs more action, but that motor sequence was phenomenal. But if you're tonally going for like a horror, then you might want to tone down the action. And with the trailer, that's why I think the trailer's kind of like hidden exactly like what kind of tone they're specifically going for.
I just think it is a bizarre trailer because, they have the bit with like, it's the T-Rex roaring and then it's people running around and then it just has like a half-second shot of the D-Rex in the lab shrouded in smoke and a guy's obviously pounding on the window trying to get out. And if that is the intro, which it probably is, it's probably going to be a horrifying intro. That's going to be them trying to recreate the same kind of like tension of the opening.
But that worries
Park.
me because whilst it technically falls under like the tension of Jurassic Park with that Velociraptor taking that worker and everything, if that canister with the D-Rex, like the container of the D-Rex, is like a prequel kind of shot feel vibe to it, they've revealed it so early on, and I feel like Gareth Edwards is the type of guy to show the foot, show the tail, and then slowly get the full reveal, and they did that perfectly in Camp Cretaceous. In Camp Cretaceous season 3 for the Scorpius Rex. I don't know if you remember, but the way that they slowly revealed what it would look like before showing its full body, like in the very last or the second last episode, that was amazing.
It was the best Camp Cretaceous series, I think.
100%. Honestly, this is going to rustle some feathers, I know for a fact, but I think season 3 is the best thing since Jurassic Park, without a doubt. It's like it's
compared to like the Lost World,
everything canonical, 100%. I know people are going to get so pissed off by that, but like, if you take away the kiddie version of it, if you take away like the typical
remake in live action.
That's what I'm saying. That's honestly what I'm saying.
Do it.
Like that Scorpius Rex, the way they revealed it and everything. Like, what's stopping them from making a short film, 45 minutes, 50 minutes? It doesn't have to be like 2 hours long. Upload it to YouTube. You'll get a shit ton of revenue, so you don't need to worry about making your money back. And the CGI go very minimal, so you don't spend a lot of money, and just go for shots where the Scorpius Rex is in the lab, because we see Doctor Who get attacked by the Scorpius Rex and everything. So that's
So I think they're trying to do. It's Gareth Edwards. He's going to tease stuff when he can, but I think with the opening, I think what's probably going to be like the biggest shock if they didn't already reveal it is it's like a maybe 2 times as big as a person in that first shot, and then later on it's massive. So that would have been like a big reveal, but then they went, "How would we show it in the trailer?" Which is great for content creators, but not great if you want to hype up like a moment in a film.
Yeah, but that's where my concern comes from, because we're literally talking about it in your video. I like the idea of it. Like, don't get me wrong, but that's where people like really like miswording what I said, like changing my words and everything. I love the idea of a mutant. I think it needs to happen. You know, that's a great way to kind of like still have that hybrid aspect, but not have it be a hybrid and have a new story, you know? But it depends on the creature. It really depends on the creature. If we could see something that's not this beluga-looking D-Rex thing, I think it would be a lot better, because I even, like, just a few days ago, I made a video about it where it would look, I don't know, do you remember the Indoraptor artwork? Like before Fallen Kingdom?
The one where it's like all mangled.
Yeah, mangled, got warts on its face. Yeah, I feel like if you did something like that, that would have been great. Like the whole idea of the tiny T-Rex arms in front of his chest, having four limbs and all of that. I think that's great. But I think the rest of the model was ruined, because you can kind of see like the undercarriage of a T-Rex. I can see their vision. But then what on earth is all of this?
The mouth is a T-Rex mouth with like a big...
Is it a T-Rex mouth?
I think,
it reminds me of a pug.
I think it's longer than the images make it out to be. If like the shape of it is obviously short, but it is like the general outline of a T-Rex.
Okay.
And I think I like the look of it, and I can see the inspiration of like the front arms are clearly like the DNA is trying to make back legs, and they just look like back legs that have been like contorted to be whatever the frog DNA is still like maintained. Like you've got to create front arms, and it's like all mixed up, and it's like just a bunch of different DNA like clearly coming together. And even the forehead, like it just looks like an embryo, like it looks like an undeveloped embryo. Well, and I see where they're coming from, and it makes sense. For some reason it made me think of that Jurassic Park 3 Extinction logo. You know, it's got like the little baby human embryo in it. Yeah. Like if they had that instead of the T-Rex, that would have been sick. But I was thinking, I love it. I think it's sick. But like, would that scene be any less scary if it was just a dinosaur? And you look at that scene and you think, no, probably not. It probably would have been just as scary if it was like a big dinosaur chasing them down. It's still scary with like a mutant and stuff, and I like it. And it's awesome. It's an awesome visual, because like there's not many franchises that can do something like this. Like there's no other big budget dinosaur franchise. So go experimental if they're the only ones that are allowed to, basically. But I don't think the film would have necessarily lost anything if it was just dinosaurs, really, or just like more closely to the dinosaurs.
Because that's the thing. Like, sure, you could make a mutant like that where like it just didn't work and it looks like shit, basically. But I feel like you lose a lot of the dinosaur aspect because people are already calling it a hybrid. Like the general audience, the amount of people I've seen calling it a hybrid, it's crazy. Like it's genuinely crazy. Like there are people who did not like Dominion, like general audience people who didn't like Dominion, who are now saying, "Oh, I like Dominion because it didn't have a hybrid. Now they're introducing hybrids again." I'm thinking, hold on, relax. It's not
people
hybrid.
Using hybrid like it's a slur, like saying,
yeah, exactly.
And it's like it's not a hybrid for starters. Like it kind of is because it's using multiple DNA, but not in the sense it's like we've made an Omega Raptor or something like that. It's obviously a different thing. But people are also afraid to use the word mutant because it's like they think of Resident Evil. Yeah. It's like no, it just means it's got a mutation. It just means it's come out wrong.
Well, that's the thing. We're calling it mutants. It might not be a mutant. It might have like a different name at the end of the day. But like, that's why I think like because it looks so different, it looks so radicalized away from a dinosaur. I feel like you kind of lose that aspect a little bit. Like, sure, you're supposed to feel sorry for it. It doesn't look right, but you can do that. You can have like let's imagine like the Indoraptor head, right, with the warts on its face and everything. Imagine the same thing, but the warts are like going over its eyes, so it can barely see. So even when it's like attacking, it has to lift its head up so it can see like the line of vision, and you can see that it's struggling to survive. Like something like that, I feel like would have been like gone down a lot better with every single audience about this weird looking thing, and not to have it so kaiju sized. Like let the Mosasaurus be the only kaiju creature of the franchise, man. Just don't make another one.
I think it's around like we was like 18 to 25 feet tall. I think maybe the shot's slightly deceptive, but it is still like humongous. But it's one of those things where I'm hoping people just go, all right, I doubted it, but it justified its own existence.
Yeah.
And it had some of the scariest scenes in the Jurassic franchise, which is really like the best thing it could do is go,
that involves
deserve
both
to
audiences.
exist? Why do you need it to look like this over a dinosaur? Is it going to explain that? If yes, then thumbs up. Then big success.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you see, that's more for like both audiences. You know, the hardcore fans, the general audience. They're just there to watch a movie, right? And this is where, like, because I've never actually come out publicly to explain why Dominion's a good movie, in my opinion, blah blah blah. That's because like I watch movies for the lore aspect, you know, not to say how, you know, some complaints about Dominion, like this doesn't make sense. Why am I watching locusts instead of dinosaurs? It was teased at the end of Fallen Kingdom, you know, and that's what I really like. The fact that it was teased and then it was utilized, and then it also had a story completion in the same movie. I really like that. So that's why, like, when I say Dominion is a good movie, it's because the lore aspect, it's amazing. It's incredible. But like as I was just saying, for Rebirth, it needs to be a movie where it's just like general audiences and hardcore fans can just enjoy for the sake of it being a solo movie. Dominion is more of a you need to learn things to enjoy it kind of thing. And that goes for, like, you know, look at Marvel. They've got loads of stuff going on. Some things you literally need to study before watching the new movies, new series. I like that, but I can see why people don't like it. So like with Rebirth, it gets a little bit challenging because it's supposed to be a new era. It's supposed to start something new. But then this is where I think they would have probably done a lot better by following off the back of Dominion by doing a story on the mainland, because now they're bringing Jurassic Park into it. And now obviously, you know, fans are going to be like, oh my God, Jurassic Park. Yeah, that's so cool. But then hardcore fans who study the franchise, who know the franchise, like, you start to question
like, what's happening to Lockwood Manor. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, for me personally, okay, I'm sure people out there are going to enjoy listening to this as well, because there's some people saying, how do you know this stuff about Jurassic? I used to study like hours a day. For the past 7 years, I've studied this franchise hours a day. Some years less than others and everything. But now that like Rebirth is coming out, I'm studying like 2 to 4 hours a day minimum on the franchise. And the more that I relearn and teach myself, the more I start to realize that, hold on, there's a little bit, like a little, not a little bit, there's a lot. It depends, yeah. There's slight consistencies, there's big inconsistencies. And it depends how you view the franchise. Like, some of them, people will be like, oh, no, that's fine. Some of them will be like, no, it needs to stick to the continuity. And there's some people like me who's just more down the middle. But, you know, when you start to bring Jurassic Park into it, you don't really make it its own movie. You make it more of an expanded movie. And when you view a movie like, again, as I said, when you view a movie like this, Jurassic became an expanded movie universe back in 2019 with Battle of Big Rock. For me, when you're ranking a movie or rating a movie, if it's an expanded movie universe, you have to rate it only amongst the rest of the information from the franchise. You can't rate it as a solo movie anymore. You can't do that. Rebirth, I was kind of looking forward to doing that, but then now they bring Jurassic Park into it, and now my brain goes everywhere, you know?
I think they did just slap that. I'm assuming they probably slapped that in there mainly for like the recognition. They said Jurassic Park.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I think probably the most they'll say is like, they'll look on like an old computer or like a poster or something, and it'll say, "This lab was created for Jurassic Park." But you know, I doubt it's gonna like rely necessarily on all these like previous films. But like it does feel like this like is more than any of the ones is more of like a legacy sequel. You know, like some other like Alien Romulus came out, and it's shocking how like similar this is looking to Alien Romulus, which I really liked. Well,
I've been meaning to watch it. I haven't watched it.
Alien Romulus, it's a good film, but like it is a lot of people left that thinking, oh, it was just a reference fest, and even though it wasn't necessarily, it was taking inspiration from like the first one, making it more about like one alien, or it's more about the tense atmosphere, and then at the end, it was like they had this big fucking spoiler alert.
I saw it, yeah.
Hybrid monstrosity,
yeah,
which I also really loved, but a lot of people didn't like, and it's like, oh, it's the same thing's happening again. We've got this film that's obviously taking inspiration from the first one. It's more of a legacy sequel. They're directly mentioning the first film, and then by the end of it, we're going to have a big ass mutant.
When you put it like that, yeah, I see what you mean.
It seems to be the thing that's happening nowadays, and I wonder what else other films going to come out where the exact same thing's going to.
The Meg
happen.
3.
The Meg 3 is going to have
three-headed megalodon.
Mutant Megs, it's probably going to happen now you mention it.
but I mean,
I'm hoping again. Most of it's just the trailer, and then it's going to be able to stand up on its own legs, and it isn't as reliant as like some of the previous ones are to the lore.
That's the thing.
Like it will start its own thing. Like it was maybe obviously here's the lore, but we're also wanting to start our new. How do you fucking do that?
Like how do you go from Rebirth? That's what somebody said this like when the trailer first released. What sequel do you make after Rebirth? Because we know that if this does well, they're going to greenlight the next one, and that's supposed to be 2028. And
a new island.
Don't get me started, man.
New island.
They go to the Shetland Islands.
With Godzilla's in it.
But that's the thing. Like, logically saying,
I love the idea the way it looks, but I'm like, what do you do next?
Exactly. And they even said this feels like
hype up them being loose again. Is that what you do? Do you just go, maybe they'll actually be in the world again? It's like we've already done this,
right?
We've already been there.
But that's again. They even said it feels like a start of a new trilogy. Like obviously, this is just our pre-thoughts based off one trailer alone. Like we don't know where this is actually going. We probably haven't even had enough time to look into it and study a little bit more to learn where this could go.
Clearly stuff they know that we don't. That
exactly.
Will hit something.
So that's what I'm thinking. Like, where does this go after Rebirth? Because again, set 5 years after, dinosaurs are dying out. Not necessarily in the equatorial line, but like you've kind of you've left the door ajar. It was wide open. Now you've left it ajar, and it's
human hybrid.
Yeah, I have a really hot take about that. A really, really hot take about human hybrids. Do I say it?
What, good or a bad one?
I'd much rather it than a mutant. Now, hear me out. Okay, relax. Chill. Everyone in the comments, stop, okay? You stay there. Listen.
Right.
All right, hear me out for this story, okay? The issue is, now that I'm saying this story, it's probably never going to happen because I have heard, little birdie has told me that Universal don't take stories from public discussions kind of thing.
Okay, well, say it and then it won't. Thank God it won't happen.
No, but it's so good. All right, I'll explain.
All right.
So imagine a similar premise to Rebirth, okay? Where they discover InGen, okay? And InGen's been somehow mixed into the lore, either pre-Jurassic Park or, in between Jurassic Park 3 and... Actually, no. You know what? Tell you what. Just before Jurassic Park 3, they go back to Sauna, they discover all of these facilities that we've never seen before. On one side of the island, middle of the island, and then you have the next one somewhere else on the island. And the whole point that they went there was to uncover something for the government. And these people don't know that there are dinosaurs still on Sauna. You get the dinosaur aspect there. But then they come across these facilities that they weren't supposed to come to. And instead of actually seeing human dinosaur hybrids alive, which I know many people are going to complain about that, okay, they see them in the test tubes, just floating, dead. Like
two-headed raptor? Just like
yes, exactly like that. Yes, actually, I think this happens in Alien. I think in one of the Alien movies.
Yeah, Alien Resurrection. There's a scene where Ripley goes in and she sees a bunch of clones that are like half mutated.
Like imagine something like that where it's like between you can clearly see the human aspect and the dinosaur aspect, and you start to uncover the mystery of what InGen did, and InGen's become a big company after Biosyn again. Biosyn's collapsed, but then slightly rebuilt after Ramsey. InGen's still kicking about, but then this all comes out. Like they discover like what they were doing, the human dinosaur hybrids, and then the whole point is trying to shut down InGen because somehow you can wind it in there that InGen's creating like the testing on humans in a similar way to how Venom does it. In the first movie they're testing the symbiotes with humans, kind of similar like that.
This should be like there at the beginning of trying to figure out what DNA they need to use to fill in the gaps.
Yes.
Or something.
Yes. Something like that. See, that way you don't actually show human dinosaur hybrids alive. And I know people hate it. But the thing is, people have also said they'd watch a movie like that, just not in the Jurassic franchise. This way you combine both of them.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah, give me a B movie like with a Velociraptor man with a cannon on his arm, like, you know.
Okay, relax with the cannon.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Jurassic Park, guys.
No
David,
chance.
if you're listening, don't do it. It's
No.
just hypothetical.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like, generally, like when the plot came out and they said that it's a decade-old mystery being uncovered, genuinely, my thought process was exactly that. They're going to uncover that InGen in the late 1990s, before the amalgam testing, just before the amalgam testing, they were working on human dinosaur hybrids. That explains all of the missing people cases that popped up. And then somehow, the same way that Ellie in Dominion kind of knew something about the Biosyn locusts, there could be a plot point with that where people have realized that, hold on, my friend's gone missing. He was contacted by InGen. What's going on? And then they kind of like do a trilogy based off that. Like the first one, they uncovered a sinister mystery of the human dinosaur hybrids. The second movie is trying to bring down InGen alone whilst dealing with dinosaurs in their world, of course. And then the third one, I don't know, the finalization.
If this happens, we know where it originated. It originated from you.
Just saying. Universal.
Confirmed here. We've got 5 videos coming up on it specifically.
Yeah.
Watch out for the channel.
But that's the thing, Universal. If you are listening somehow, and I know I've said this out loud, this whole story, but my goodness, I have so many movie ideas. I will happily stop YouTube if I can work on the Jurassic franchise solely. Genuinely, I swear to you right now, if I could work on the Jurassic franchise, creating stories or at least keeping the continuity, I would stop YouTube, 100%. Give people what I think they deserve.
Speaking of the mutants, or just like the mess ups, I've seen people thinking that the raptor that you see the feet of is the 2-headed one that's in the chest tube, the chamber thing. And I'm pretty sure it's not, because the raptor you see in what looks like a kitchen, wherever the area is white. The tiger raptor is orange. Not right.
Is it though? Is it? Because if you were to get those feet,
or is it the orange goo.
That's what I'm saying. If you were to get the feet of the Velociraptor and you put the orange filter over it, it does kind of look a little bit orange. So I would say it's plausible, but how would that go down with people? Because I know there's going to be a lot of people who are so sensitive and be like, oh, you should not be showing 2-headed Velociraptors. Oh my goodness, it's so upsetting. I'm thinking, come on, it's a CGI dinosaur.
You've got Doomsday Raptor going on now.
Doomsday Raptor. Actually, I just remembered, isn't there a 2-headed snake in Jurassic World?
Yes. In the
labs. Just before Vic dies.
Alien. Yeah. That's
so
there.
This is a nice little callback, I guess. So.
It's been hinting since 2015. This is a decade old.
The thing is, when you put it like that sounds cool in my head. I love that.
If it wasn't already in a test, like a chamber thing that's been probably away for like however many years, 20 years or whatever, I'd believe you. But
well, that's dead. Hold on. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Okay. It's shiny. It looks like it's been polished.
It is shiny, and I'm wondering if it's because there was like a big covering and they've gone.
But even still, like this. Okay, theoretically speaking, all right, based off all of the timeline that we know. Okay, I've got a timeline here as well. But in 1982, Isla Sorna was leased by the Costa Rican government, so that's the first time the island was there. I can only presume that they decided to go to Sorna because they realized this island isn't working out. So, give or take a few years. Or take a few years off to kind of justify them means to move and planning and all of that type of stuff. 1980s would be the absolute latest in the timeline where they have left this island, okay, alone. Dominion set in 2028. We're nearly up to 50 years. If that brand new tube had a covering on, there would be some cracks. There's no way this type of glass, even if it's bulletproof glass in the 70s, I don't recall being able to survive like that, no matter how rich. Well, InGen actually had financial issues.
That's some double glazed glass right there.
Double glazed, quadruple glazed. That's what they've clearly done for. But that's why I think that might be a sequence of the flashback, if there is a flashback, because there might be. So I think that might be.
I can't remember what the background looks like. Whether it looks like
it's not much. It's really not much. That's the thing. I tried to look at it, tried to justify it, but it doesn't look like much. And when
he looks in
That is different.
Loomis looks in the little test tube thing.
Yeah.
And it's the same, so you'd assume it's like part of. They made it look like it's the same scene. It might not be.
That's the thing. If there is no flashback, it kind of fucks up with the timeline a little bit. Because where? Because InGen had financial issues. How are they affording all of this? You know? Like, they were not as rich as they were in Jurassic World.
Yeah, they didn't have this futuristic modern tech going
Exactly,
on.
neither. So
they had this very show, and they had the one lab in Jurassic Park that was designed for the theme park to be like, look how great everything is.
Yeah.
It's like the perfect lab. It's like the one lab they had, and everything else is just like cigarette smoked, like tech rooms and stuff.
Yeah, but even the computers, like those computers that you see, yes, they're kind of under rubble a little bit, but like they're not from the 70s. They're from the 90s. I think at the earliest they're late 80s, absolute late 80s. There's no way they're in the 70s.
They're big ass computers. It's hard to tell which kind of computers they are until we get like a closer look. But they're definitely like
and the lack of. But that's the thing. The lack of overgrowth.
They're like mid 90s.
In the scene with the computers, yeah.
Yeah.
Why is the floor so clean?
Nobody knows.
That's what I'm saying. They had janitors still.
I still think the lab is like somewhat underground, which will explain why there's no like, and it's probably been closed off. So
yeah.
How much dust is it bringing up? And it's probably that's why there's no plants and stuff. But you've been theorizing, and I'm pretty sure this lab was in use, well after Jurassic Park. From 93. This is not 1993 technology.
No.
Even if part of it is, maybe some of it was running even after that. Like, partially used, partially not.
Because I made a theory because this took me like 3 days because I was panicking for 3 days. You have no idea. I was like, how does this make any logical sense? Even like simple logic, it makes no simple logic to be before Jurassic Park. There's a few theories I came up with. Like the original Jurassic Park was supposed to be San Diego, so that was canned in 1985. So perhaps technically, when she says the original Jurassic Park, they'll bring up San Diego again because they did. Did they say? I'm pretty sure they said it was Hammond's original dream, right, to build in San Diego, in the Lost World. I thought Peter Ludlow said that. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch the whole bloody franchise again. Oh no, not Camp Cretaceous season 4 and 5. I have to watch again. Oh, anyways,
I don't think I ever even watched season 5.
I
think I might have watched the first episode and went, but Chaos Theory is on, and it's so much better.
Yeah, unless you want to know specifically where Biosyn's technology and the Barbasol cans come from, then you don't need to worry about it. But yeah, so fitting Rebirth in with the timeline, or at least the Rebirth story into the timeline, it makes no sense to be before Jurassic Park. No sense at all. And then I tried to fit it in. Like, how can I make it make sense? Logically, there is a way to try to fit it in. Like, maybe they initially set up everything on this island. Then they realized, hold on a second, it's so far away from San Diego. It's so far away from the Muertes archipelago. This makes no logical sense to breed dinosaurs here. So maybe they set up everything, then they realized, yeah, nah, we're not going to do this. So that's why you see the InGen logos everywhere and printed out and everything. But then, let's say 2005, when Jurassic World opens, another company finds this island, which is, what's it called? Parkagenics? Is that? Yeah, Parkagenics is the name.
Yeah, Parkagenics.
So we've got that. And then they find this island by some mysterious mistake, like the Bermuda Triangle issue going on. And then they realize, hold on, this is InGen stuff. This is like basic InGen technology here. Then they do like some secret behind the scenes work on trying to create dinosaurs, because we know Biosyn was trying to do that. It's written, it's not like shown anywhere, but it's written in lore that Biosyn were trying to create dinosaurs in 2016 after the fall of Jurassic World. Who's to say that the other company wasn't trying to do something very similar? This story has been.
Do you think they maybe came in, adopted their technology, and tried to do it themselves, which led to, because they're inexperienced, this monstrosity? Yeah,
and then they can frame InGen because they have the logos everywhere. So it's.
That would be interesting.
That would,
but it's probably not going to happen. But it's interesting.
I know.
I mean, it might happen. It might happen.
But then there's the other theory where
the unexpected is really my what
Oh
I'm
yeah.
saying for the whole film is hopefully it explains everything.
But
You
then
know,
that's what I'm saying. We have the possibility of InGen returning to that island. You know, like after Jurassic World, very minimal. Thing is, I don't think it's written much anywhere, but there's not much known about what happens to InGen after. Like I know that they're supposed to dissolve, but technically they can. You know,
I
there
thought they
might be
became like at least their tech became a part of Masrani, um,
Masrani
and then
dissolved. Masrani dissolved completely.
and now Masrani's disappeared. So it's probably just the rights to it just went. Who wants to buy
InGen,
InGen? And someone
yeah,
went, "Oh, some
$5 stock
Saudi
price.
Arabian billionaire or something like that." Yeah.
Yeah, but then yeah, so and then they would return to this island, or maybe they started on this island. And since Doctor Wu was not part of InGen at that time, that might explain the mutant, you know?
Mm.
Because
Because
how
it
he's.
seems too weird. He would know about this. He would have said
Yeah.
something about it when he's like releasing the locusts. He's doing that and remembers. Oh, there's a mutant on an island
Yeah.
somewhere. Forgot about that.
Well, he was. Doctor Wu was it? Was it 82? I think it's either 82 or 83. That was when he was signed on to be the lead geneticist at Jurassic Park, well, InGen, shall I say. So that's also the same time, coincidentally, that they moved to Isla Sorna. So therefore, if that mutant is before Jurassic Park, it makes sense because Doctor Wu wasn't there, and that might be the meaning or the reason why they hired Doctor Wu. If that mutant is born before 1982, that could be like a spur on moment for InGen to hire him. So you know there are ways to explain it. It's just interesting how they explain it because can you think of any other idea? Besides, they returned to the island in the late tens, or a new company built on this island trying to frame InGen. I don't see.
I think. I mean, if I'm being like big dumb general audience brain, they probably just want you to think this was all done in 1993, and it's been out of commission since 1993, which is when the first Jurassic Park took place, or at the worst 1997. Where if you want to say that the mutant looks like a few years old, that makes sense. Based around the Lost World's time, they probably want you to think, well, like Lost World was late 90s, so this is probably like late 90s, and that's why everything's not as dirty as it should be.
But that's where the issue comes in when you try to think of the canon, because like the research facility of the original Jurassic Park, like you need time to breed these animals. Like Rexy, she's 5 years old in Jurassic Park, so that would make her born in 88. Yeah, 88. And then the first dinosaur, Microceratops, was in 1986. Velociraptors were like 89, I think. I can't remember, 87. But so the original research facility has to be before those dates. Has to be.
It might have existed before then, but they'll probably say that's when it like stopped functioning as a lab. It will be like 1993 or 1997, just based on the fact that Jurassic Park happened in the film that people remember.
But then that brings in another issue, like how are they transporting those large dinosaurs, those specimens, from one side of another ocean to the other side of the ocean?
Yeah,
like,
man.
The distance spans the whole continent.
That's what they're saying. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm sure someone would love to explain that in the future.
But maybe that's where the trilogy goes at the end of the day. Like they might actually explain that type of stuff. Part two, because you had to go eat and I had some other stuff to do. But we're back. It's a little bit dark. It's a little bit later, but it's okay. Because we're talking about any other way that you can like implement this whole new story that we're getting from Rebirth into the timeline. Because of course we have the whole Masrani aspect or post Masrani aspect of InGen. Somebody taking over the island. InGen were there, but they didn't actually do anything there. So I can't think of anything else.
No, and I doubt. I feel like it would have been brought up. It's just one of those things that's like, there's so many ways we could explain it if we already knew this island existed, if they said it was one of the 5 deaths or whatever. But I'm pretty sure we know it's not, based on especially its location that he said it's near Barcelona.
Barbados.
Barbados, not Barcelona.
Barcelona. I was thinking Atlantic.
Yeah, go there for the Euros.
Mediterranean.
But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things because it's new. Like it could just be anything. Like they could literally come up with anything. And obviously, we're doing our best with like the theories and stuff, and they all sound good. But
they all have
can
problems.
just like pull anything out. They all have problems, but they at the end of the day they probably just go, it's just because it's a secret island, man. It's just because it's secret.
But yeah,
so everything's secret.
That's the thing though. If they do say everything's secret, then you have to explore like more in like when you start to get more in depth. Like this is like hardcore Jurassic fan knowledge. It's illegal. It's illegal to keep it secret. Like you own a whole island. Depending on what government basis, like it's under, like the Mertes was under Costa Rica. Depending on whose government it was under, you have to report to them. Under the United Nations law, if you're doing any type of operation on those islands, you have to report what those operations are. And with Sorn and Nublar, they're a bit easier. Building a theme park or doing scientifical biological research or something like that. That's a lot easier to do.
How is it any worse than what was going on Sauna? Like that they'd have to cover it up that much.
Well, because then Sauna,
the same stuff seems to be going on.
Sauna, you can, if you were creating creatures, if you report you're creating creatures, you have to be like, for what purpose? Then you say for sanctuary purpose. However, with this island, like, what do you go ahead and say? Like how does it, like, again, this is very like deep. My lights just switched off. You have to deal with me being in the dark, but this gets like really deep lore aspects, and I guess in a way, using my own logic against me, you could just say in this universe it's not illegal. Something as simple as that, because they're not in our.
Didn't know. I mean, we didn't know about it. So would the government? Probably, but
yeah,
don't let their audience know that.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just like,
unless they're in it, unless the local government was bribed by them or something,
it could be owned by Barbados, and no disrespect to Barbados, I actually don't know what's going on there, so I could be completely wrong. But you wouldn't look at Barbados' government the same as you would like the United States. So
they do also have that line where he says no, like they don't have any like patrols around that area anymore.
They have a few. So clearly some government knows that there's something on this island that people aren't supposed to go to.
Yeah. So perhaps that's somewhat linked to something. Obviously, the trailer makes it seem like the next thing he says is no one's dumb enough to go to the island, but it might not. That might not actually be.
But when he says that nobody's dumb enough to go where we're going, that must mean that the general people, like the population of the world, know that there's dinosaurs on that island.
Yeah, because
so it can't be a secret.
There has a family that goes there from what seems to be like an expedition or something of some kind by some kind, maybe an illegal expedition or something like that. So they're obviously not allowed to be there, but people know they exist. People know it's there, and it's obviously some kind of like illegal thing that goes along.
But then that just ruins the exploration of it, to learn the mystery, because these people, like Duncan's word alone, nobody's dumb enough to go where we're going. It indicates, I'm pretty sure, like an 80 or 90% chance that he's on about the rest of the population knowing that there's dinosaurs there. And then with the government,
why would they go to that island and not everywhere else on the equator?
But that's the thing. How does a Titanosaurus swim? They can't. So they were born on that island.
Why would it need to swim? Yeah, they were all born on that island, but why couldn't that family just go anywhere else?
No, they crash. They get marooned. What's the word where like a
shipwrecked? But I
kind of. Like,
I thought they were there to look at the dinosaurs with like an illegal like tour group.
I thought one of the plots say that it was a tour boat that went wrong because the creatures kind of like moved them to the island, and then they had no choice. Like the aquatic, I assume the Mosasaurus.
Speaking of like all those boats and stuff, I'm trying to figure out like the moments in the story where things happen, because in that boat they seem to be with the family, and then it's shipwrecked. But we also have the other boat where it's more of a military boat, which seems to have a presence in the story. And I'm trying to piece together, how everything works, because clearly that's I don't know if that's them trying to leave, and then they're stopped by the Spinosaurus. I don't know where the other boat is. Like, why they're going to the island. Like, it's there's so much is confusing me right now about why what's left of the family or whoever's there is on that boat with them, with our team, but not everyone. Like, I'm confused by it.
Maybe that might be how the sequel begins, because on the military boat, at least, you see the family are on there. So this little orange boat, I presume, is the tour boat. Went wrong. They crash. Then they find each other on the island. And then they try to escape the island. And then maybe it ends on a point where they can't escape the island. And then the sequel continues with them trying to escape the island. Then they get back to the mainland. And then it gets into like a Dominion style thing with the pharmaceutical, with Biosyn being an issue, you know? Like, you know how Dominion was supposed to be a two-part, could have been a two-parter with the whole action on the mainland, and then the Biosyn aspect could have been, you know, the part 2. Maybe they're actually going down that route where this is the whole story of Rebirth is them finding out, because they've said, people have said who've worked on the movies, the Rebirth means something in this movie, and I can't really understand how the word Rebirth plays into account here.
Unless it's like the rebirth of InGen or
okay,
like it's got to be something symbolic, you know.
But in what aspect?
It can't just be like a rebirth of. It's not just a rebirth of dinosaurs or something like that. It's got to be something metaphorical, like, you know, like InGen coming back or something.
But that's why I think like it'll bleed into a sequel. I think maybe like they do end up getting shipwrecked, and they struggle to get off this island. Then the whole point of the second movie is that they find a way to get off this island. Then they come to the mainland, and then it's about trying to shut down this new pharmaceutical company.
Oh yeah, that's like I was saying. The only way I can imagine that really the follow-ups would be more about pharmaceuticals and viruses. Like, that's really the only thing I can currently think of, if that's where they're planning to go. But, you know, our people could be interested in that. Probably not. And now all the dinosaurs are in the equator, so now they have to have the sequel set in places like this. So
yeah, but that's the thing. Look at Dominion. For me personally, the fact that it was very story focused and it wasn't just like dinosaurs, despite having the most dinosaur screen time, yada yada, all of that stuff. It was very story driven, and I really liked that. It was focused around Biosyn, but people didn't like it. So that's why I'm confused. Like, if they do go down the pharmaceutical route of this brand new PG, what's it? I keep forgetting what it's called. Parker Genix, right?
Parkergenics.
That's it. So if they go down that route, then they must look at Dominion and be like, people didn't like the Biosyn aspect, so why would we do that same thing again? And then at that point in time, you're literally redoing stories. That's actually, like, as much as I love this franchise, that's my biggest complaint. Jurassic World, Jurassic Park, pretty much the same premise. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, The Lost World, pretty much the same premise to an extent. Dominion and Jurassic Park 3, not quite the same premise, but think about it. They go to this remote area with dinosaurs to help rescue a child. It's the same premise to an extent. Again,
I think Rebirth is probably closer to Jurassic Park 3.
Yes, I'm sure Rebirth will probably be a lot more like Dominion.
Dominion was the only one that Dominion felt like the only one where they were like actively trying to do something different, and it didn't always work. But you couldn't say it was just doing the same thing again. Yeah,
no, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you want to make it as if it was the same thing, you can. But Dominion, out of all of them, is literally like its own solo story in a way. Like, they did their own thing. Rebirth is probably going to be a lot more like Jurassic Park 3, and, you know, so... But that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like this franchise just redoes stories quite often. So if they do go into a sequel to Rebirth, and it's pharmaceutical, you're just redoing Biosyn's story at that point, pretty much. And a little bit of Manticorp's story, just a little bit.
It's one of those things where, like, we could probably come up with a bunch of ideas of what we'd want a sequel to be like, but this is obviously like $300 million films, and there's only so much they think that general audiences will want to see. And it sounds like they probably just kind of want to make it back to basics. But
I've just thought of something really good that they could have done to not make the whole timeline so confusing. Instead of falling on this island, right, have a very similar story where they're trying to go to Nublar or Sorna. They mess up. They go a little bit deep into the Pacific. People are going to hate me for what I'm about to say, but please hear me out. They fall upon Manticorp Island. Okay? And then, but this island, like the biodome, you can see it's cracked. The roof is cracked. It's fallen down. little bit of overgrowth since nobody's been there since 2016. The whole cold and desert arid area doesn't work anymore because obviously the systems aren't running. And then they explore that and that genetical company a little bit more because it kind of feels like they're just like, hey, look, this company can make their own hybrid dinosaurs. That's it. And then they didn't explore it further. Like, there's so much more they can do with that. Like, they can go deep into the Manticorp lore and then kind of be like, yes, this is, connecting to Camp Cretaceous. And that's how you make, because let's agree. Season 4, Season 5 Camp Cretaceous, dog shit. They're awful, okay? This will make those seasons better while not directly changing them. Because if you go down a very similar route where you explore Manticorp, you explore their sciences and what they were doing, then you can do something very similar, like how they're investigating InGen on this island. I feel like there's a better story there on an island we already know, and it has a backstory, the island as well.
We've got the supposed TV series coming out that could explore stuff like that. Like if TV shows exist to like expand the lore and focus on things like companies and espionage, and that's why I think the Monarch Legacy of Monsters did well. It expanded on the MonsterVerse lore and solidified certain things and made Apex into more of a real company. It focused on that because it had that extra runtime. So I think that's more something that they could do for like a TV show.
And the best part about it, the Spinosaurus was last seen on that island. Need I say more? Need I say more? That should be enough.
Original design.
Exactly, and that's how you bring it back. Like, again, that just gets me started in a whole new era because Project Regenesis, the Spinosaurus, literally the first one ever made. It's confirmed it's the first one ever made. So these Spinosauruses on Rebirth Island just makes... Also, that's a really nice name, actually, Rebirth Island. I like that. I might start using that.
Rebirth Island. We'll start calling it until they say something else.
Yeah.
Is there a chance that it was just like... these ones were made after that Spinosaurus?
That's what I'm saying. Like, with the theory, like, that's always a possibility. But, like, if they... Because as much as I love my theories, and I think that they are probably... like the best way to explain things, I don't think they're going to be true. Like something's telling me deep down inside me that they're going to stick with this weird convoluted timeline that they've made themselves, which then makes the Spinosaurus from Jurassic Park 3 pointless,
Not as special.
Yeah, just not as special. Like you rewatch, you'd be like, when you're watching it and you don't know about Rebirth, oh my goodness, Spinosaurus is so cool. It's the only one, and it's a mistake. They tried to make a Spinosaurus and they couldn't make it properly, and that's why it's so aggressive. They were so close; they're like 95% of the way there. But then watching it after watching Rebirth, I would just be like, wow, it's the 4th Spinosaurus ever made. Not even that. Like these guys might even just be like bred naturally on the island. So there would have been so many more Spinosauruses before.
And if you look closely, they still have like teeth growing out the side of their jaw.
Yeah, slightly mutated.
And they've got the stubby neck. And I like the idea that they, like InGen, made these Spinosauruses, but they looked like kind of more actually realistic. But because of the scientific knowledge in 2001 or whenever the Spinosaurus was made, they went, nah, this can't be right. We have to give it bigger legs.
But that's the thing. To avoid all of this, I'm a Spinosaurus fanboy, okay? But I'm not like those hardcore fanboys like Spinosaurus versus T-Rex kind of thing. But I feel like not to just make the Spinosaurus fandom like happy, but to kind of add a little bit more to the lore and add a new species. What is wrong with adding it and naming it as Oxalaya, which is the South American? It's nearly the same size as Spinosaurus. It's literally the same, basically the same build. I know some paleo fans are going to hate me for saying something like that. I'm sure there's something different about it, but just call it Oxalaya at that point. And I know the namesake Spinosaurus is better. Oxalaya is cool.
With the Mosasaurus, isn't it? Like that shouldn't exist.
Like Pleurodon. Make it like Pleurodon.
You could just make it like Pleurodon.
There you go. It's so simple. Like you don't need to use names that are already there. Quetzalcoatlus as well. All right, Quetzalcoatlus is understandable because there's two discoveries of Quetzalcoatlus, one smaller than the other. Yeah. So that's more understandable. I can understand that. I can relate to that. Mosasaurus, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think that there's one that like massively changes in size. Sure, one of them can be more scientifically accurate, but again, it just ruins the Mosasaurus, born in 2007, the first aquatic species in the timeline, because Jurassic Park the game is not canon. So that Tylosaurus doesn't exist in this universe. It just, if that Mosasaurus in Rebirth was before this one, again, it just wastes it. It just makes it less special.
Yeah, I'm hoping they just kind of talk about it soon, because it's one of those things. It's like they need to bring up they need to make another website, like a viral marketing thing, and just start
100%.
Just start clarifying things like immediately.
Yeah.
Because is Dino Tracker still down?
Yep.
That's just gone now, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, coming back probably, unless it's down, so they can.
Dino Tracker going down makes sense.
It sounds like it's gone.
It makes sense to an extent, because like I know people are going to be like, oh, it's because of Rebirth. Dinosaurs aren't everywhere anymore. But like, if you think about it, in Jurassic World Chaos Theory Season 1 and 2, you practically start to see the fall of the DPW. And the DPW run Dino Tracker. So I can only presume that the DPW gets shut down, maybe in Season 3. And then that's why Dino Tracker is down. And that would also explain why we don't see the DPW in Dominion. So I think it's more of a connection to Chaos Theory than it is to Rebirth, despite it probably being more intended for Rebirth, So that's how you can explain it. But marketing, I agree, marketing website is needed. Like, the last ones were so much fun. They added a lot of lore, and it makes a lot more sense in the timeline. But, like, they weren't needed in that sense. It was more fun, and they could do it. Rebirth, I think it's needed.
A Parkogenesis website went up. Is that fan-made?
People are saying it's fan-made because it's not owned. Like, the name isn't owned by Universal, and every single time they've made a website, they've owned the name. So, or the domain, shall I say. So that's why people are saying it.
And they're like,
yeah, Universal paid
money and I'll give you the website.
It's a smart move, smart business move. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see if it comes out saying that that's official or not. But they don't have the same team working. I spoke to the team actually, and they're not working on anything for Rebirth. Like they don't even get contacted anymore. Like they've submitted ideas apparently, but they just don't get contacted. So
crazy, because it was such a great way to just interact with the community.
Yeah. Not even
sure everyone loved it. Like, they did a similar thing for Godzilla King of the Monsters, where they had like monster sightings, and they just haven't done it since then. And it's so dumb.
But that's the thing. Like, I don't think it adds any negatives. Like, if you have people working on it who have the abilities and skills to do this, but also have the internal knowledge and the intellect of the franchise, there is no negative to add in a marketing website, an in-universe website. I think it just adds a lot more, and honestly, it makes the movies better. And I know this is a very silly way to look at it, but I love Dominion because we had Dino Tracker on the side. I viewed Dino Tracker as part of Dominion, and when you look at Dominion, you start to learn the lore and how Dino Tracker fits into all of it. You start to realize, oh wow, these websites are amazing. They're almost perfect. So they should go with something for Rebirth.
For sure. Awesome. Is there anything else that springs to your mind?
There was something. I can't remember. I'm going to be
so... Anything else that I can really think of? Very specific things, like we could obviously talk about the music or what we think of the characters so far, or...
Well,
that's really all I've got left, is whether you like the characters or like just general stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think I touched up on the music. Like, it's kind of like very actiony. It's not really like the suspense.
I don't think it's the official thing yet.
No. That's
they probably just royalty free.
They did that for Dominion. The scene with the horses at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
they literally bought that footage from some royalty-free website.
Well, they did that a lot. They had the horses, and then they had the car going off the cliff. That was obviously there was no Stegosaurus there before. That was stock footage.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool though. It made it feel more real.
Yeah, of course. Like it actually, what I really like, it kind of like shows that movie universes are kind of parallel universes to ours, but they have differences. Like the same thing happened in our universe with that car crash. That also happened in their universe, but that instead of like, I think the original, wasn't it like a sudden turn after the tunnel, and the guy wasn't expecting, he was going too fast, so he brakes and then accidentally turns, goes off the cliff.
Unclear what actually caused it. I'm pretty sure he probably just got hit by an invisible Stegosaurus.
Yeah, then maybe, and then the universes collide. It happened the whole time, but that's what I find that really cool. Like it was
that's actually hinting towards the next Jurassic World film is going to be a multiverse story.
Honestly, I'm down.
Where the universes start colliding.
At that point, I'm down.
That's where they've gone. They have not actually been going to the equator. They've just been disappearing from the universe.
That makes sense. What did Doctor Strange do, man? He fucked up the spell.
There you go. He's flipped everything up.
Ah, man. But you were saying about the characters. Actually, I quite like them. I really like Henry. Zora, I think I need to acclimatize to. I thought she'd be great, but she's not as good as I had in my head.
Yes.
Duncan, I love. I think I'm going to love Duncan. And Martin, I think, is very interesting of a character. We'll say that.
He's the pharmaceutical guy, is he?
Yeah, the head of pharmaceutical.
Yeah. I think the one that stood out to me the most was Duncan. Like he's going to be probably the Malcolm of the film,
but more like
the underdog,
big man, henchman kind of like.
Yeah,
action.
But more like if Malcolm was like a highly trained soldier. Coming in, kind of being like the hero.
Yeah.
When people need him to be. I think I was really hyped for Scarlett Johansson being in the film, but like just based on the performance, she's a little bit wooden.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the script. It seems very 90s. Just the kind of things she's saying, and not necessarily that's a bad thing, but I think you could say it a bit different. Could you just redo that take?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, trailers don't show
it's got to the point where I'm generally like, is that just the trailer take? Is the one in the film going to be different? Because it seems very seems like you've said it for a trailer,
Yeah.
So like that'll take a bit more. I really like Jonathan Bailey. I saw him in Wicked, and when I saw that, I kept going to other people going, he's going to be in Jurassic World. so if you like him here, you'll like him in that film. And he looks great. Although I am a bit sad he's not doing his British accent.
Yeah, I actually pointed this out. His American accent is really good. I feel like I was really worried about it, but like, I've heard, where have I heard him before? He does his American accent. Can't remember. There must be something. I know that I did some research when he first announced, like this time last year when it was announced that he was going to be part of the movie. I remember doing some research, and I think he was part of an American film where he did an American accent. I can't remember what it was. But then I learned he was
Fury, apparently.
Which one?
He was in Fury, that film, that war film.
Oh, okay, yeah, I love that one. Where was he in Fury? I don't remember that.
I don't know who he is in Fury. It's just come up with Jonathan Bailey was in Fury, apparently.
I really like that movie. That's my favorite war movie.
I've not seen it. That's the one with Shia LaBeouf in it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Michael Pena actor and what's his name, Brad Pitt. It's a really good movie, fantastic movie. But yeah, no, his American accent, I think it's flawless. I'm not American myself, so I don't think we could
even
say.
Even if we think it's funny enough. I think it's easier for British people to to tell a British person's doing a American accent. Because I did a Vietnam film, and I got this guy that was doing an American accent, and he did a really bad job. He was like, "Where are the MIA? And where are my soldiers?" And I was like, "Oh God, it's awful." Then I played it back to Jake, but he went, "Yeah, sounds good."
Oh, okay.
I was like,
wow.
I was like a guy from New York, and I was like, "All right, okay, cool,
fair enough,
awesome." I mean, that's made me feel better. But I kind of hoped he'd do a British accent, but like him doing an American accent kind of gives me like Sam Neill doing this American accent vibes. It was like if it was like 99% there, and if it isn't 100% there, that's part of the charm. Part of the charm of Jonathan Bailey.
But yeah, he's like, I have not. I'll be honest, I have not seen him anywhere. I don't watch Bridgerton. I don't even plan to watch Wicked. I don't think I've seen him in anything else off the top of my head. So already seeing his acting in the trailer alone actually gets me kind of excited because
he was very likable.
Yeah,
he's a very likable guy in Wicked, so he's going to be likable here. He's kind of like
he's likable in the trailer.
He's similar to.
He's relatable as well.
Guy that was in he's like the guy that was in Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. Dan Stevens. He's got similar vibe to him, where he's just like a likable character actor. He's good at changing the kind of roles he plays every time. Like, he doesn't just play himself every time.
When the D-Rex steps on the dock or the platoon, whatever it is, you can see the fear in Jonathan Bailey's.
You can see his legs shaking.
I know.
Yeah.
But that makes me think, like, okay, that's really not. I'm going to get into the topic of the D-Rex, okay? And that's where that's the last thing we're going to talk about. So that's what I wanted to say. When the D-Rex approaches onto the platoon, is it Splatoon or is it Platoon? Is it Platoon, right? Which is it? Like like a little dock. It's not called a dock. It's called. I can't remember what it's called. I swear it's called Platoon. I thought it was called a Platoon.
It might be a Platoon. I don't know if it's Splatoon. It might be.
Platoon's the game.
Write in the comments down below which one it is.
There you go. Yeah, you know what we mean. It doesn't matter. But yeah, like, how did nobody hear that? Like it's big and
someone
fat.
says it's coming out of the water. I think it sounds
then that's
like,
even
looks like
worse.
it's coming out of the water.
I thought it was coming from the forest because the skin does not look wet.
I mean, obviously we're used to dinosaurs in Jurassic Park having very heavy footsteps, but like, you know, in real life they would have been quite quiet ambush hunters,
right?
So unless it is being
but it's walking on the knuckles.
Quiet, it is also walking on its knuckles,
which is like
and looks very
barely
heavy.
any skin to the bone. There's no padding in the knuckles. Very heavy, very big.
But these are like this thing was like the back legs, isn't it? They've got like quite a lot of scales on like the top bit of their fingers, don't they?
Yeah.
Based on, if we're basing it off like a theropod foot, but this thing isn't realistic anyway. But I just assume it's just part of the drama, just part of the fun, part of the scares.
Yeah,
it coming out of the dog as a stick visual and wouldn't have been as cool as if everyone already knew it was coming. I'm assuming there's a reason for it, you know.
I'm just surprised. I'm surprised that they actually like introduced it in the trailer. Like when I saw the article and they said that they're going to showcase it in the trailer, I was like, huh?
I was like, don't,
really?
But do, because I want to make a video of it, but don't.
Of course, you know. You gotta get those.
Maybe there was an engine. Maybe there's like an engine in the background that's like the boat engine is like, and they're about to go.
Maybe
and it comes out. You never know.
But they're just like. There's a lot to this mutant. There's a lot to this mutant that needs to be discussed, described, explained. Like, it's clear that one of them is a lot smaller than the other. There must be at least two, unless it's a flashback sequence. The one in the container looks so much smaller than the one that we see on the dock.
Yeah, that's why it has to be a flashback. But there also I was just watching the trailers again today, and obviously we have Zora shooting at something in the tunnels. But when was the last time a main character has shot and killed like a dinosaur?
I didn't even think about that. Oh my goodness, this might be a big change for Universal. What's happening?
Unless if it's a big change, then like, yeah, but like it sounds like there might be more smaller hybrids that she's gonna shoot and kill.
True.
Or it's people, you know. But she's like crouching down. It looks like if something's going through there, something's crawling and like coming at her. You know.
What about Trooodon? Some people have played around with that idea. You know, the Jurassic Park, the game Trooodons. It would be nice to bring them into canon.
Like they've, like their Universal's, like, you know, their rules, so they can't kill dinosaurs. At least from the sounds of it. And they've always kind of framed them as being like these things that didn't ask to be made. Like they didn't.
Yeah.
You know, they've always been somewhat sympathetic, even if they're trying to kill you. So they try not to kill it unless it's a big mutant or a, you know, whatever, or a big hybrid. They tend to just kind of do whatever they want, even though they didn't ask to be made either. So it's like, you know, whatever. So like my guess is, you know, there are going to be smaller mutants in it as well, just based on the fact that she's shooting at something with a gun that isn't a tranquilizer. It's like a pistol.
Yeah, and when we think about all the lethal weapons that I've used in just Jurassic World. Actually, let's go further back than Jurassic World. Let's go the whole saga. But you had the Spaz 12 in Jurassic Park. It wasn't used.
No.
I swear there was some. Was there something in the Lost World?
There was. I know it was. Could he replace the darts with lethal darts or something? Could that count as? No,
because it was never really fired. Yeah. So. Okay, Lost World, nothing. Jurassic Park 3, only hear Cooper firing shots. Nothing else from there on.
Yeah.
You see military weapons.
Sniper, isn't it?
You see snipers as well, yeah. Jurassic World, they made a big deal saying you're going with non-lethals.
Owen's got a head like...
He's got his carbine rifle, yeah.
Yeah.
So he's got that.
Repeater thing, whatever it is.
But yeah, I don't think it's ever been. It wasn't used, was it? It was just a prop. He didn't actually use it in the movie.
No, he was shooting the Indominus with it. Even the Raptors are on it. He's like,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and then rocket launcher technically, yeah, but it doesn't. You don't again when it's a lethal doesn't kill. It hasn't killed.
doesn't kill it. No, yeah. The Mosasaurus does that.
In
then
Fallen
in
Kingdom,
Fallen Kingdom, they got people that
they
try
shot
to fire it.
So they did. They shot Blue with a lethal.
Yes, they did.
And I think
survived still.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was a dart though, wasn't it? Still a dart.
No. That's why she was bleeding, wasn't she? Because it was actually a gunshot. She jumped on that guy and then got shot. So
and you got people trying to shoot these at Pachyrhinus, or which one is it?
Or in what movie?
In Fallen Kingdom, what's the
Sinoceratops?
Stigmoloch or something?
Stygimoloch. Were they shooting?
They try and shoot that because when it breaks free in the auction room, they try to shoot it. They raise their gun at it, but then Owen comes along and
with lethals?
Knocks them out.
Oh, okay, right. Sure. I think so. I think I know what you're on about. Yeah. Then Dominion, the only lethals in that movie were literally the multi-sequence firing at people. So when you think about it, Fallen Kingdom's the closest we've ever got to a dinosaur dying by lethal by human. Anything else?
And that's the bad guy as well. That's the bad guy.
Yeah, and he ended up dying as well.
You can't have a good guy start shooting a bunch of dinosaurs and no one's thinking like, who's the good guy in this?
So
some stuff going on with this.
When you think about it logically with Zora's gunfire, then that might be a big change for Jurassic because none of the movies. We're not even going to get started in the series because obviously there's no weapons in that. But none of the movies have actually shown somebody killing a dinosaur, like straight up shooting a dinosaur and killing it. So if what you're saying is right about Zora shooting some mutant or even just a dinosaur in general, that's going to be a big change for the franchise because that's not been seen before, and that's something loads of people want. It's the whole reason why they're not in Fortnite, man. It's ridiculous.
If they do this, surely they can just go, well, here's a new Jurassic horror game, and you can shoot them and stuff. Yeah. That's part of the reason they haven't made like a Jurassic horror. Like, what do? You just tranquilize them? That's not fun.
But that's interesting because in Jurassic Park Survival, it's clear that it's not going to be lethal based. Like it's going to be strategy based. You're just going to have to find a way out.
Lots of hiding.
Yeah. So
it makes sense. She's just like a random scientist or something like that. And
but the Jurassic World Survivor was supposed to have Spaz 12 shotguns. So no, the 2019 one that got canned. The Jurassic World variant.
Oh, yeah.
So the only images that we got showed the only images of weapons was literally a Spaz 12. So at least they're playing around with the idea.
They're potentially opening the door for bigger.
Yeah. But
but
as you said, you can't just like shoot a dinosaur that's not meant to be made. You're supposed to feel sorry for it, but that leads me to thinking, how do you feel sorry for the D-Rex? Like, how do you feel sorry for it? If it was born before this 1982 storyline with Isla Sorna and the rest of the research facilities for Jurassic Park, it's gonna have to be 50 years old. Okay, there's two ways you can go about it. It's survived for 50 years. Okay, or it's been put into cryogenic freeze and was released very recently. If you do the cryogenic freeze, you're redoing the Scorpius Rex story, basically. A story that's already been told. Granted, maybe not in live action, but it's still already been told, and you're just basically doing it quick.
I wouldn't be surprised if they went, that did well. Let's do it again.
Yeah, I mean,
for our audience, but with a more effed up mutant.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do see that happening. That is a possibility. But again, you've already done the story before. But then again, Jurassic's already done the story many times, and they redid it for the World Trilogy. So, but then it just makes me think, like, you look at it, right? If it had survived 50 years, how? It's ugly, it's big, it's not stealthy, it's slow, by the way. It looks like it moves very, very slowly. And it just, for some reason, I cannot feel sorry for it because clearly it's doing fine,
Well, I think it's, I don't think that, I mean, maybe the big one is, but I think that's, it's probably had offspring at this point if it is just been out in the wild.
That means two would have been made. Two of the, and their genes need to be to be able to connect to, because you can create some hybrids.
Actually,
yeah, but I don't think that wasn't really like the whole parthenogenesis thing wasn't a Jurassic Park thing, which people were confusing with because that's more of a Jurassic World science. Okay, in the early noughties. the only thing they could have done was changing their gender, but that's only if they're in a same-sex environment. So they can't just change it like that. If there's a couple of males and then loads of females, those males can't just change to female because there's already males in there, so they're not a single-sex environment, you know. So
Well, maybe there is more than one, and maybe the one that we see isn't the original one.
but then that doesn't. If they somehow bred, then that doesn't like that doesn't make him a mutant anymore. They were
They're
intended to be like
viable
that.
specimens.
Yeah, because then those genes need to connect. Because there are some hybrids that can be made in nature, like the liger, the lion and tiger mix. But there are some that are just genetically impossible. And I can only assume that most dinosaurs would be genetically impossible. Because obviously you have Cretaceous species, Jurassic species, there's plenty of evolution time there to not be compatible. But then a mutant, where it gets even more confusing, like there's no way that they could breed. No way.
Yeah, I mean that's what I think. That goes back to the. I don't think this thing is 50 years old. I think it was made. Which is annoying though, because the whole like the goodwill of this thing is that people will be okay with it if it's like an early creation before they properly got the science right, and you know they were meddling with things that they didn't quite understand just yet, and it made this not finished mutation. And they kept it alive. I don't know, research purposes or whatever. But if it was made like well after they had dinosaurs, then what's the point of this?
Exactly.
Unless there is like just an ulterior thing, and like the whole Parker-Genesis potential 3 gene thing is maybe on the lab. I don't know if that's just like conspiracy theory stuff.
Yeah.
Because everyone saw like the three dots and they're on the lab. Like maybe they were involved and it's happening way later, but like it's just confusing things. Everyone's had the good idea of what this thing is, and nothing's quite.
And then something new comes out and it changes, and you're just like, you have a new idea. It's part of the fun, you know. But it brings me back to this idea.
Yeah, go on.
It brings me back to this idea where, like, if it was born 50 years ago and it was supposed to be like the first ever failed Tyrannosaurus mutant, okay, why were they creating dinosaurs so far in advance? Like, in 85, that's when San Diego was scrapped, 1985, if that was the original park. There's no way that San Diego would have opened until latest 1988, okay? Why would they be making a dinosaur so far in advance, like 1978, like a whole decade early? Why would they be doing that? Because for Jurassic Park, they were made on Sauna, okay? 86 was the Microceratus. Microceratus, I don't think was on Nublar. I don't think it ever made its way to Nublar. So it clearly would have died out 7 years later or something. So the T-Rex, understandable, 5 years old. It's going to live up to 30 years old, maybe even longer. Velociraptors, they can live like 15, 20 years old. Brachiosauruses, again, they accelerate growth genes. They can grow up to 110 years old or something crazy. So like the species in Jurassic Park make logical sense for being born in the late 80s. If San Diego was not even built in 85, earliest I think it would have been open to the public is 88. Why are they making dinosaurs in 77, 78?
They could just to
and then do what with them?
Something to show for it, but
just makes you wonder. You know, it's making you think.
This goes back to my thing of like it's like they've probably just thought this thing was made in 1990 because Jurassic Park came out in 1993. So it must have meant that they were making the dinosaurs in the 1990s. And that's what I think a lot of the general audience probably thinks. And I'm really hoping they're not making this film for just the general audience.
I know. But that's why I fell in love with Jurassic. Because you've got this rock solid lore. Yeah. Like you don't really get that with Marvel because there's a few retcons here and there. Like they've just brought the Daredevil and the Defenders saga into the MCU. They've made it canon. But there's so many like contradictions in that make no sense. So you have loads of stuff like that across the MCU. Star Wars, the same thing. Jurassic, whenever I watch Jurassic, everything is so neatly tightly packed. I'm thinking, wow, that's why I fell in love with it, because there's next to no plot holes. And even in Dominion, everybody said there's so many plot holes. I made a whole video debunking all of the plot holes. And then people are like, oh wow, okay, fair enough. And it's great, but then that's what I'm saying. I'm really worried that they're making it for the general audience.
So what would you say that your you posted that your hype levels are like a 3. a few days ago.
Yeah.
Is it still at 3, or
Not
is it
really?
Is it budging, or like give me on day 1, day 4, and now what's your hype levels at? I bet it feels like a roller coaster right now.
Straight after the trailer, I'd say it's probably a 5. Then when I had time to think about it, it went down to 2. And then after the first 3 days,
number.
yeah, I'd never give anything lower than like 6s as well. It's crazy.
Christ,
but
yeah.
After like 3 days, 4 days, it went to a 3. After 3 days, it went to a 3, and then I figured out this whole possible plot line and this whole idea and theory. It went to a 4, and right now, I'd say it's at a 5.
Back to 5.
Yeah, I'd say it's at a 5.
Yeah,
but that's merely based off what I think is
right.
happening. It's not based off what could happen. It's based off what I think is happening. So it was 5 today. It changed today when the new images of the Parker Genix thing came out. That's when I theorized, and then that's when my idea went, okay, this might be a lot better of a movie than I'm thinking in my head.
Yeah, it's hopefully it just. I mean, I'm hoping it not just means that Parker Genesis was doing it this whole time, using InGen as a name, and that's why it's not actually on.
Yeah,
that's why it's not actually marked down under InGen. But yeah, I'm hoping that they know what they're doing. I mean, I'm going to assume they know what they're doing. Great
you said
team.
No retcons.
No retcons.
Yeah. We'll see about that.
He's like, there'll be no retcons. I've not watched a Jurassic Park film since The Lost World, but there'll be no retcons.
Yeah, that's so terrible.
But yeah, hopefully it'll go back up. I mean, you set your expectations pretty low, so
yeah,
hopefully it means you'll only be surprised by it, which means I need to the trailers maybe temper my expectations a little bit, only because of the way they've kind of like presented it. I'm assuming that the end result will still be like very good, but that trailer's kind of made me go, maybe it won't be even better than Jurassic Park, which is what I was thinking before.
That's what I was thinking about Dominion.
It's going to be better than Jurassic Park.
That's why when I looked at Dominion's trailer, I even tweeted out saying this, like the feel from the trailer alone could genuinely be better than Jurassic Park. But no, it was far off. It was far off, and it does irritate me when people say that, because like, especially IGN. Oh my goodness, IGN always go on about this. You can't remake the original Jurassic Park. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. I'd like to see anybody who would try to attempt it. All you could do is try to make good movies after it that take place in the same universe. Nobody's trying to make it.
Just like make them silly. Just make them in dinosaurs in space.
Oh my god, shut up.
Just do what Fast and Furious is doing. It's like, I don't think anyone even likes what Fast and Furious is doing these days.
No, they even
like, I'm pretty sure they just want them to go back to basics as well. So it's like, I think unfortunately the World trilogy has kind of left a bad taste in people's mouth, whether or not like we like them or not.
That's the thing.
Like,
I think the World trilogy.
A lot of people are just typing it's slop. Like people are, oh, this is just a slop film. And I just think, why does it have to be slop?
They don't know.
Nothing in this film to me looks like slop. It looks well made. Yeah. The cinematography looks beautiful. The actors are all great. And the CGI looks fantastic. I'm just watching. I'm like, and there's probably going to be great themes and like subtext. I'm like, which part of this is slop? Like, and the people that are saying that as well probably go back and watch like. They probably watch all fans of the Marvel movies as well. So it's like, pick and choose a struggle, mate. Pick and choose a fight. I don't get it. There's a lot of people who have a lot of negative opinions about.
Well, I think it depends how you view movies. Like, at the end of the day, the way I view movies, the whole reason why I enjoy, I'm probably like the most high-profile person who enjoys Dominion so much, because I hate saying this because I don't know how to say this without sounding egotistical. You know what I mean? But like, the amount of knowledge that I have of this franchise, it's disgusting. I don't think I've even studied for my exams this much.
Yeah, I'm just better than everyone.
Yeah, I'm better than everyone, of course, man. Duh. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know how to say that, not egotistical, but I have like spent years of my life literally studying this, and that's why I feel like I can appreciate Dominion so much, because of all of the intricate details. And even people who worked on the movies themselves, not like the movie, but the lore aspect, even they would say something similar, because they know a lot about the franchise. And that's where it comes down. It depends on how you view the movies. Like, for me, the movies is about lore, what it adds, and how does the story intertwine with the overall lore of the whole thing, the whole universe. Okay? But I know there's going to be a lot of people who just watch a movie for the sake of it being a solo movie. And that's why I understand from a solo movie, if you don't understand like the whole background and everything from Dominion, you're not really going to get it. There's so many people in my life, and even random people who I've spoken to, why don't you like Dominion? They explain, then I re-explain why their explanations were wrong, not to be cocky again. And then they go watch the movie after the things that I told them, and then they're like, it's a different thing. It's a completely different perspective.
Well, I've been with you after we've met up and we've all watched Dominion, and was like, I didn't really like it. And it's like, let me explain how you're wrong. I'm like, I don't dislike Dominion because of the lore. I think the lore is one of its strongest attributes, and I think stuff like I've always been fine with the Locust because it seems like something that would come right out of the books. The same thing with the Mutant. I think they're two of the same kind of concepts of humanity, just meddling with science. The thing I don't like about it is it's just not very well made. That's my issue. The only thing I care about Rebirth is whether it's like a well-made movie.
Yeah.
And like the lore becomes second, because you can have really interesting lore in a not very well not very well made movie, and you'll still leave going.
It's like with Jurassic Park 3. Like for me, Jurassic Park 3. I know Jurassic Park 3 is not a good movie. I know it's not a good movie. But it's one of my favorites because of the lore aspect, and that's how I view movies. So I know it's each to their own on how you view movies, basically. So that's why
Jurassic Park 3 is massively overhated.
In 20 years' time, come back.
It's not that bad.
In 20 years' time, come back. I promise you, there'll be people saying Dominion's not as bad as we said it was.
Of course it was. People that grew up watching it, like I see kids walking past with like Dominion shirts on. It's like that kid's going to grow up having like memories of it, and it's going to be sick.
Yeah,
same thing with all the Godzilla movies. Like people don't like this. People that don't like these new ones. But when I was at the cinema, you see like families and stuff. Some kids pretend to be Ghidorah, and I'm like, they're going to grow up and they're going to love it. Some people, you can complain about some stuff now, but they're going to grow up and have plenty of great memories of it. Yeah. And in 20 years, we'll be arguing on the internet about how it's actually a masterpiece.
Exactly. But that's the thing. You got to realize, like, as much as people don't like Dominion, right? It's always the people who don't like the stuff who voice their opinions the most. Okay? Like, you don't see people... Like, if you look at it, Dominion is the third highest... Based off audience reception, Dominion is the third highest ranked movie. It's a 77%. 7.7 out of 10. That's what the general audience ranks it at. So, like...
Ian Grant, man. He has that power.
There you go. So, but Rebirth... All right, final guesses on Rebirth. We'll keep this short because I think we've talked a bit too long. It's gone 1 a.m. So
it's nearly 2 hours long so far.
Yeah, that's fine. It's a pilot episode.
Right.
But okay, so what do you think, based off everything we know so far and your own predictions, out of 10, what do you think the movie will finalize as?
What, on like IMDb or like
on Rotten Tomatoes and stuff like that? What do you think? Give your own.
I'll probably give it like I'm probably gonna give it like an 8.5 or a 9 or something like that.
Okay.
And just for the sake of it, but I think like most of the rest of Gareth Edwards' work, it will probably on IMDb sit at like a 6.5. People are going to rate it low because it's a Jurassic film anyway. But Gareth Edwards, his work has like consistently been like mid to late 6s, and I think Rogue One might be like 7 or something like that.
Yeah,
around that area. I don't think it's gonna.
Rogue One's a 7?
Wow the people that. I think so. It might be.
It was brilliant.
Rogue One's amazing. But I think on Rotten Tomatoes, it's tough. I think critics will give it like maybe like a 70, and I think, or maybe not. I honestly don't know. Critics are probably going to be massively biased against it just because of the name. I think audiences will be. I think audiences will be more split, at least on Rotten Tomatoes, than Dominion. I think they'll probably give it like a 66 or something like that. Just purely based on the fact it's got this like mutant in it. That's gonna be divisive, and people, doesn't have Alan Grant in it to win people over.
Yeah,
so I think it's going to be fairly mixed. I think a lot of Gareth Edwards' work, like Godzilla, I think that's like on a 65 or something like that on Rotten Tomatoes audience rating. And that's a bloody masterpiece. So like, I don't know what the audiences want. They can be given a masterpiece and they'll still rate it low for some reason. But it's until
what would you? So you'd say it's like an 8 or 9. That's what you're saying. Your own personal belief is an 8 or 9.
I think it'll be like to be me in the middle at 8.5. But I'm pretty sure that's what I rated everything I've seen ever. Everything I like, but have problems with. I'm like, an 8.5, that'll do. because I'm scared to rate it lower or higher.
For me, it's going to be like, I think this movie is going to have to make me reshuffle all of my ratings for the Jurassic franchise. Because, for example, I have season 5 of Camp Cretaceous. Season 5? Yeah, season 5 at a 6.5. So,
really? And that's the one you like?
Well, season 5's a lot better. Season 5's a lot better than season 4. 10 times better. Season 4 is like a 3, maybe a 4. Yeah. So a 6.5 is like, I think, reasonable based off at that time. Okay. But once Rebirth releases, I think I'm going to have to reshuffle things. That's probably going to get a lot lower to maybe like a 4.5, maybe not even a 5. Because I think Rebirth might sit at a 7, maybe a 6.5 for me.
You want to rearrange what you think is like pretty good.
Yeah.
Season 5 is pretty good. But Rebirth is better, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah. Like I can't have them both sit at 6.5, you know, because Rebirth is obviously
ranking it now. Because just the whole films. Because I saw you
just on the films
on a tweet. Yeah, you said my rankings would break the internet or something like that.
They did.
Someone posted like Fallen Kingdom having its own tier, and I was like, oh, it's good you've put it on its own tier because it's too good. It's too good to be put against the other ones. It's unfair, actually.
So it does change after every viewing. At this point in time, this again is going to be very controversial. So, people, I don't care. You don't have to tell me for the millionth time you don't like Dominion. Okay, shut up. I get it. All right, I'm telling you right now. I don't give a shit. Don't comment that. Okay, 10 out of 10, Jurassic Park. 8.1 out of 10, Jurassic World Dominion. 8 out of 10, Jurassic World. And then it'll be a 7 for Jurassic Park 3, and then a 6 for The Lost World, and 5 for Fallen Kingdom. Just based on my own thoughts right now.
Why is Lost World so low?
It could have been lower. It's genuinely going lower. The more I think about it, the lower it gets. Like, I don't like it. I really don't like it. Maybe if they did the story of going back to Nublar from the original book, maybe I would have liked it. But
you could make a whole video just like, I want to pick your brains on why you don't like The Lost World. Yeah, it's funny. Whenever I watch them more, I'm like, this is great.
Yeah,
so good.
But that's what I'm saying. When Rebirth comes out, I'm probably gonna have to reshuffle and re-rank things and do a whole franchise overlook and think it all through again. Because I'll be honest, I think it's going to
take the spot of The Lost World.
Yeah, but I think
maybe Lost World's actually better than I thought it was.
Yeah, exactly. And it might. Yeah, Lost World might even go up. It might even go to a 7. It's better than Rebirth. So, but I think. At the end of the day, I think I'll rate it around like a 6 to a 7. Based off everything we know so far. It could be a lot better, it could be a lot worse.
So we'll say 6.5.
Sure.
And we'll come back in 5-6 months and we'll look at our ratings and compare it.
Yes.
We'll see whether we were right or not.
But I think the audience will rate it about like an 80-81%. The critics maybe in the 60s. I think the critics might be 60s just because it's Gareth Edwards. Patrick Carey, David Koepp, Steven Spielberg,
I would be genuinely
it's a good recipe.
Heartbroken if this is the first film that they rate like 30 just because it's a Jurassic film.
It'll be so disrespectful if they do that, because look at everybody who's come back from the first film. Plus really good directors in today's world. It's a fantastic recipe.
The first one has what, 70 or something like that? Is that in the 70s?
I think 79
for the critical rating.
Oh,
and then everything else since then has been like below 40 or something like that.
Yeah,
it's Minions on 25 or something.
Right. Well, there we
can't be that low.
No, there we have it. Everything we have in our minds, we needed to get out. Let's be honest, didn't we? We needed to just talk about it. I'm sure other people want to talk about it as well. It's not much you can say in a 10-minute video like we did. We could
probably keep talking, but it's been nearly 2 hours, and I've got to go for a run.
And I got to go to sleep.
And he's got to go to sleep because it's 1 o'clock in the morning.
So we're gonna maybe return back to something like this. I want to see if these podcast things do any good. So like if it does good, then we'll return to something like this. But we'll see. It's been a lot of fun though. Thanks for coming on the channel.
Welcome.
I appreciate it. We'll talk all things.
Love you,
Jurassic. You had to make it weird. You had to make it weird right at the end.